Support for the Hub is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technological developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and I got an exclusive offer for you guys, 20% off plus free shipping with the code HUB, H-U-B. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code HUB, H-U-B at manscaped.com. As both a New York Knicks fan and a New York Giants fan, I am actually really excited to make this little bit of a different video, right? As you can see, the title, it says, The Amazing Parallels Between the New York Knicks and the New York Giants, and that's because both of these teams are on the way up after being in the bottom of their respective leagues for the better part of the past 10 years. Mostly because of a culture change incited by very similar turning points in their organizations and very similar people that are new in their organizations, and it just made me think to myself, wow, what I'm seeing here, the patterns that I'm seeing repeating themselves within the two separate teams are incredible. And also, I was like, the fact that they're happening to my two favorite teams, this is like only something that happens in a movie. So I know it's different, but bear with me, guys. I mean, try to get through it and let me know what you guys think. The New York Knicks are one of the biggest joke franchises in the entire NBA, and it should not be that way. New York, the mecca of basketball, having their team being one of the worst for the better part of its history at this point, especially recent history, is not something that doesn't, it's not something that adds up really. But the Knicks haven't been in the playoffs since 2013, and even for that short stretch when they had Carmelo Anthony, they were only really a legitimate threat, I would say, 1 year, and that would have been the year before 2013-2012. But since 2013, the Knicks have been terrible. They have not been that good. That star player in Carmelo Anthony definitely declined a bit, and eventually he ended up off the team. We had a young budding star in Kristaps Porzingis, who also eventually ended off the team. We thought he was going to be the future. We thought he was going to lead us into the playoff, into the promised land eventually. Just needs to build around him. That did not happen. And then the Knicks were still one of the worst teams in the league, both in terms of personnel, both in terms of talent on the floor, in terms of coaching as well. And of course, with the Knicks, a lot of it had to do with terrible ownership by Dolan. And then you go over to the Giants side of things in the NFL, very similar. Haven't been to the playoffs since 2016, but a lot of people count that as a fluke when you consider the years around it, because we haven't won a Super Bowl since 2011, and then from that stretch from 12 to 15, and then 17 to basically 20, the records speak for themselves. Haven't really had a talented roster. We had our superstar in Eli Manning, who declined in his latter years, and he eventually retired with the team, though. I mean, I would have been happy if Melo retired with the Knicks. It didn't happen. We had our future superstar in Odell Beckham Jr., who also eventually ended up off of the team. A lot of people, including myself, thought he would eventually lead us back to the playoffs, and if we built around him, that could have been it, but it did not happen. And, well, same situation as the Knicks right now. We're at one point bottom feeders of the league. Then in 2020, the New York Giants go and hire this guy, Joe Judge, a special teams coordinator and wide receivers coach from the Patriots. Nobody knows anything about him, so the reaction from everybody kind of makes sense. The fans, they didn't know what in the world to think. His introductory press conference was impressive, and he gained some support from that, but in general, the overall reaction to Judge from the fans, the Giants fans' perspective, were very tentative and very cautious. Nobody knew exactly where to go with it. And then from the media, well, it was an absolute shit show. I mean, they took any and every chance they could to attack the Giants, attack Giants ownership, which has been questionable in the past couple of years, attack the general manager and Dave Gettleman, and basically say what a joke of a hire Joe Judge was. The Knicks in July of that same year hired Tom Thibodeau, a way more proven coach when you compare him to Judge. However, because of his last stint in Minnesota and in general, his recent years have been as great as they used to. While there were a lot of praise for the hire by the Knicks, especially from former players of Thibodeau, there was also a lot of criticism. And kind of like the Judge hire from Giants fans' perspectives, from Knicks fans' perspectives, it was really just we were tentative and they were cautious about what's going to happen, and they were still very, very wary of ownership. Now we're going to travel back in time just a year, but it's going to make sense, trust me. In June of 2019, the Knicks signed Julius Randle to a 3-year, $63 million deal in free agency. The move was met with widespread panic. Nobody liked it. Everybody was clowning the Knicks. Once again, it was a situation where people were saying, oh, well, the Knicks are gonna nick. They went and they got a Laker bust, first round bust in Julius Randle, who proved nothing and really should not have gotten the monumental contract that he did get. And that essentially he wasn't gonna help out the team, and this was a waste of time and money. In that same 2019 year, that 2019 NFL season, the Giants traded for Leonard Williams, and the reaction to that was exactly the same. Oh my God, this is a terrible move. Why are they trading for a Jets bust, first round pick bust in Leonard Williams? He's not gonna help the team. It's a waste of time, money, and resources. We go into 2020, and well, the scenarios have changed quite a bit. Julius Randle, after having an offseason under the Thibodeau program and with the Thibodeau trainers, which people underestimate. I mean, Randle actually lost quite a bit of weight and got into his best shape of his career under that training staff. He's absolutely broken out. He's playing at an all-star level, dare I say all-NBA level. Currently has the Knicks above 500 with a team on a roll, 6-game win streak, about to enter the playoffs and about to cause havoc. He's the leader on that team and playing at the best level of his career, surprising many. And I mean, he did get his all-star spot as well. Leonard Williams in 2020, best year of his career after an offseason under the Joe Judge program and Joe Judge trainers. Finished his season with 11.5 sacks, got his Pro Bowl, dare I say it, played at an all-pro level, showed to be the best defensive player for the Giants, and then re-signed with us just this past offseason on a $21 million a year deal, which surprisingly, guess what? A lot of fans, they were okay with it, and Leo proved himself to the Giants and showed that he could be a Giants legend here if he continues to do what he does. Randle is currently doing the same, and well, don't be surprised if Randle gets that extension as well in the offseason. Speaking of defense, the Knicks are currently the best defensive team in the NBA. It's not even an argument, it's just the fact this team is led by its defensive prowess, where they are ranked number 1 in basically every defensive category you could think of, whether it's efficiency or points allowed. The Knicks are at the top of the league, and it's the biggest reason as to why they're sitting at 31-27 right now. I can assure you not one person expected this massive jump from this team. The Giants in 2020 were a top 10 defensive team as well, going from a bottom 10 defensive team. They finished the year at 9th in points allowed, and because of Williams and his contributions, they actually finished top 10 in sacks as well, top 15 in pressures, believe it or not. But that 2020 Giants team was, as the Knicks, led by their defense, which no one expected at all, and was a defensive team that not a lot of offenses were willing to face during the regular season. Now we're going to time travel back another year just because, I mean, it's going to make sense. Trust me, it's going to make sense. And this one's probably my favorite. In 2019, the New York Giants drafted this guy out of Duke named Daniel Jones to be their franchise quarterback and essentially their future of the team. Yeah, we all remember how that went, what the reactions were. If you thought the reactions to trading for Leonard Williams and Joe Judge were bad, I mean, you haven't seen the reaction to the Daniel Jones draft pick. Giants fans themselves hated it on like a 90% scale. Nobody wanted Daniel Jones. Everybody thought it was a reach in the media. You know the drill by this point, you know what I'm saying? Panning, joking, clowning, saying that it's an inept organization, they can't make good decisions and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And now, even though Daniel Jones had a really good rookie year and was on pace to break the rookie touchdown record, in addition to leading the Giants to a couple of wins, people were definitely still cautious about him going into his second year, and he had statistically worse second season. But anybody that goes back and takes a second look realizes how much this man improved in his passing game, in his decision-making skills over the course of the season, and can see that he's making the right steps to be that franchise quarterback. It's not like he was helped out by his offensive talent or his offensive line at all, but Daniel Jones is making progress, even though it has yet to show up on the stat sheet, which is why entering to his third year, a lot of people have kind of given up on him, which is a little bit of sad. Also in 2019, the Knicks drafted a Duke boy named R.J. Barrett. Now, his draft selection was not met with the reception that Daniel Jones's was, because R.J. Barrett was a top recruit coming out of college basketball, and by the time the lottery was over, he was assumed to be the New York Knicks pick. However, because of his lackluster first 2 years in the NBA, a lot of people outside of the Knicks fandom, just like a lot of people outside the Giants fandom, have given up on RJ, have sort of said and already coined him as a bust, which doesn't really make much sense, or said that he should not have been the pick. He was the worst of the top 3, yada yada yada, leaving him outside the top 25 under 25 list and all that. You guys get the picture by this point. However, much like how Daniel Jones improved over the course of the season, when you go back and look at it, RJ this season has definitely rapidly improved. I'll tell you what, it's a lot more obvious than the DJ one, but the RJ one, it's there. It's almost as if he heard all of this and he immediately put it as fuel for himself to just immediately break out. There's one other, striking parallel I want to talk about, but after that it's just going to be the minor things. The last one would be veteran presence and leadership. The Knicks, because of an injury to their second-round pick safety Xavier McKinney, had to go out and sign Logan Ryan, former Titan Patriot, recently shifted to safety, great veteran from Tennessee. A move that was met with a bit of skepticism because, once again, the reason he was brought here in the first place was to replace an injured player. Turned out to have an incredible season for his age, an incredible season on and off the field, and become a great leader for that Giants team, and particularly that young Giants defense. Derrick Rose of the Knicks, actually a former New York Knick before he came back for a second run. A veteran guy from Minnesota and Chicago, so ties with the coach, just like how Ryan had ties with the coach. Wasn't really brought in because of an injury, but was brought in with a young group that is, of course, the guard group. And can you guess what the results have been so far? Oh yeah, great on and off the court production. He's playing some of the best basketball he's played in years, in limited minutes of course, but that's how Rose works now. And he's been a great mentor to the young Knicks core, and you could see his impact as soon as he got there. Now, like I said, for the remaining, parallels are kind of minor stuff. Like, as an overview, the Knicks and the Giants are both young, scrappy teams that made a turnaround because of a major culture change, that was inspired by their head coaches. No nonsense head coaches that are all about the team and teamwork. There is no one singular person that they focus on. These coaches will call you out if you do something wrong. Accountability is the name of the game, and everybody is working their hardest for them, which is another thing. Every player under both programs have bought in, and as soon as they bought in, the coaches had them hook, line, and sinker, and everybody now is talking about both the culture change in both of New York teams. Free agents, for the first time in a while, actually want to go and play there. Media talking heads, for the first time in a while, are actually giving them praise. And the most important thing, guess what? For the first time in a while, both of them are actually playoff hopefuls. Now, what is a little bit different is that the Knicks is going to be in the playoffs this year. However, I'm sure that most NFL fans have actually seen what the Giants have done over the course of this offseason and their last regular season, and expect them to make a push for the playoffs as well. It's just an incredible story of resurgence in New York sports, caused by two coaches who people did not expect to have this effect this quickly, and it's something great to see as a fan of both of them. And I just love it when there's parallels like this, because it's almost like it's out of movie. But that's really all there is to this video, man. Let me know what you guys think. Put your thoughts and comments down below. If you're a Knicks fan, a Giants fan, you know what I'm saying, leave it out there. That's it for now. I'm out.